Let's roll.
How we doing, everyone? And welcome back to the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. With baseball on the horizon, we are bringing you our central previews for the American League and National League divisionals. We've got two Chicago teams that represent each respective division. We've got the two defending champions of these divisions, the Cleveland Guardians and the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals have the second most world championships to Idris and my New York Yankees. We've got the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are hoping to improve behind some young stars like Brian Reynolds and O'Neill Cruz. They also have an old familiar face in the form of Andrew McCutchen. The Cincinnati Reds are allowing gambling at their stadiums. There's not much to talk about the team. The Minnesota Twins, Carlos Correa, after two failed attempts of being signed by two National League teams, one the former New York Giants, now San Francisco, as well as the New York Mets. He is a Minnesota Twin. We've got the fuck you, AJ Hinch, Detroit Tigers. We're going to speak on them a little bit, maybe not so much.
All day.
We've got an improved Royals team, and I'm going to tell you why I think they could hang around for a little while. And we've got a White Sox team that's going to be missing two key components, and we're going to speak about them. But we will start with the National League the National League Central. I'm going to kind of throw my predictions up on the screen, and we're going to go round robin and debate on this. Mm-hmm. With me, as always, Mr. Idris Salam, Mr. Michael Zappi. Sorry, I was going on a little tirade there of describing some of these teams, trying to give this show a little juice. My predictions, as you can see, I got the Cardinals winning this yet again. I've got the Brewers finishing within shouting distance. I've got the Cubs improving as well as the Pirates improving. And I've got the Reds in contention for the worst record in all of baseball. Who wants to start here?
I guess I go ahead. I'm with you all the way on all five teams. I think the Brewers checked out last year at the trade deadline after and I feel that was it for them. And the Cardinals proved that they got the better end of everything. And I think they're just going to get stronger this year because they finished pretty strong last year's regular season. Playoffs came around. They did what they had to do.
Philly shocked them, man. I thought they were going to go even further, but I like that.
Shocked everybody. Philly shocked everybody.
They got a MVP candidate on that team, and Paul Goldschmidt, who I think is going to have another stellar year.
And me and Zappy was talking off the air about the Reds. It's a shame, and you spoke about it too off the air. How far the Reds have fallen, man. This used to be a proud franchise, man. The big red machine. Now they're like the only thing they have going on is gambling.
The last thing they did that was newsworthy is when Deion Sanders threw the Gatorade, the ice Gatorade, whatever have you, on the late, great Tim McCarver.
Yeah.
When Deion was wrapping up his career as a member of that organization.
That was it.
What I like about this, first of all, Zappy off air made a nice little point, and he said this could be a year where he thinks the Chicago Cubs could shock the world and take back this division. I wouldn't be shocked. I went as far as saying that I could see the Cubs and Brewers in the driver's seat going into September, and then they do Cubs and Brewers like things. I would not be surprised if they're ahead of the Cardinals going into the latter month. I'm going to call this now. Adam Wainwright's going to have a year that looks a little more like a prime year for him. I've just got a vibe about Wainwright this year. I think Paul Goldschmidt very well can win the National League MVP. I think he's got a great chance. As the Brewers go, Christian Yelich, I would like to see him get back to form of a few years ago. I do believe that this could be a potential year where he does that. Cubs have a lot of young talent, and I'm going to call this now. I think Taijuan Walker is going to have the most wins on that staff. As the Pirates go, we'll see if there's a fire sale at some point because I'm pretty sure they're going to build around O'Neill Cruz, but I do think Brian Reynolds could be on the move at some point this year. And I'm calling 30 home runs for Andrew McCutchen. I'm happy that he's back where he started. The Reds are an utter mess. Who do I want to speak on that team that even draws interest? I guess Joseph India. I do like him as a player, but I think this team is just terrible. Really, really bad. I got the Cardinals with a modest 86-76 record, but I do think that they're going to compete once the playoffs begin because they do have that kind of build to them. Jordan Montgomery, 15 wins this year.
Yeah, looking at what you have here, man, I can't argue really with you on any of them. The only ones I guess I could would be the Cardinals Cubs, like you already talked about. But when we're talking about the Reds and you're looking at what this team has, we saw them trade away their ace last year to the Mariners, which turned that Mariners team around even more.
Indeed, Luis Castillo is who he's talking about, people.
Yeah, and then when we look at Joey Votto, it's like, oh well, thanks for 10 years ago. Right. And that team was just good. I guess the one bright spot talking about the Reds would be Ellie De La Cruz, who should be coming up from he was their top prospect. I think he was ranked number 10 in all of baseball's prospects. And the kid's got a bat and he's got a great glove. He's multidimensional. He plays shortstop and third, but I think that's going to be their one bright spot. But the Reds, like we were talking about, I think they're a team that's going to be flirting with the worst record in baseball this year. It's that bad. And then when you look at the Pirates, same thing. Like you said, the one thing I'm going to be paying close attention to is obviously Brian Reynolds, because I believe my Rangers will be in the mix for Brian Reynolds come the trade deadline. O'Neal Cruz is not going anywhere. That's such a young, bright spot. I mean, that shortstop, three of the hardest hit balls, and then he's got three of the hardest thrown balls from short to first. Like the kid can play. The kid can play baseball, and he's long and rangy. I love Cruz. I think he's going to be a star in this league. But then you look at everything else with the Pirates, it's like, all right, well, they've got some good pieces coming along here. But then when we get into the Cubs, Brewers, and Cardinals, it's hard to go against the Cardinals, even with the loss of Albert Pujols, Molina. I think this Cardinals team is in prime position to succeed. And you mentioned Jordan Montgomery winning 15 games. I think he's actually going to lead the team with 21 wins this year. I'm expecting Jordan Montgomery to have himself a very good year. And I think he's going to be one of the pitchers that's probably going to be in the running for best ERA this year. I think he'll sit around 2.32, but it's possible that he's throwing under 2. So which would be amazing to see. But I'm expecting a big year from Jordan Montgomery. And then, yeah, as far as the Cubs go, I like some of the additions they made during the offseason, but I don't know if it's necessarily enough. But I think the one thing reason why is because no one's expecting them to do well, that everyone's expecting them to finish middle tier. And sometimes those are the teams you want to fear the most. This Cubs team, I mean, they're only, 7 years removed from their World Series championship. Most of that team is gone, but they still have a winning tradition that was lost for such a long time, and I'm pretty sure that the city is going to not want to see it happen again. So that's why I think the Cubs will actually have themselves a bounce back year, and wouldn't be surprised if they're flirting and finish maybe one game behind the Cardinals for first place, and then they finish second at possible wild card, and the Brewers finish in third. I will say that Brewers, I think 81-81, but the Cubs, I think the Cubs can be a team that finishes with 83 to 85 wins easily.
Yeah, it can easily flip. Because the Brewers, like I said, last year, they basically checked out. You never know. And this is baseball. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I like it. Before we move it along to our next division, wanted to bring up something that I just put together here. Let me just explain the rules because it's going to be a little different than usual.
Oh, I got one for you guys. Who in this division is the one guy that could hit 63 home runs?
63 home runs in this division?
Yeah. If there was one player, you have to pick someone.
You said 63 home runs?
Yeah. We're going to do that for every division. Who is the one player that, since Aaron Judge just hit 62 last year, we're just going to go based off of that. Who is the one player from the NL Central that we think that could hit 62 home runs? I know my answer.
Damn. I'll say Goldschmidt, even though I think he tops out at best case scenario in the low 40s.
I don't know, man. I mean,
I don't see anybody in the. It's such a rare feat. It's not something that I expect people to do every other year.
Goldschmidt could hit 40, 45, 50. I say Schmidt. I say Schmidt. I give him 45, but that's it, man.
I think Goldschmidt tops out at 37, to be honest. But
I think he can hit 40, 45. I think he might top out about 35, 37 years.
Oddly enough, I think Kutch is going to finish second in this division with 30 home runs.
I think O'Neal Cruz could do it. I mean, I like his game. I like his bat.
Yeah.
His bat speed is
phenomenal. I got him hitting 30. Maybe I'm going to say he hits 28 this year. Second to his teammate, McCutcheon's hitting 30 this year. I'm telling you right now, 265, 30 home runs. I'm feeling it this year.
I think McCutcheon's hitting 30.
Which is second in this division to Paul Goldschmidt, who's going to hit around 310 and hit like 37 homers.
Are you saying Kutch is going to hit 30 games played or hit 30 home runs?
No, he's going to have a year. He's going to start feeling. He's going to have a year. He's going to throw it back.
I'm going to give Goldschmidt 40, man.
I mean, it wouldn't shock me. I think he's the most capable to lead this division in homers.
So I look at Cruz. In only 87 games last year, he had 17 home runs. That's actually very good numbers.
No, it is. It is.
So he's a guy. He's a kid that I think could easily hit 30 to 35 a year. I think he's going to lead the team in home runs this year and not Kutch. But when I'm trying to look at across the roster from each team. And Paul Goldschmidt is the easy answer because we've seen him there in the 40s many times. Right. But O'Neal Cruz, this is a kid that we've only seen play a short period of time, and the sky's the limit for him. So
how about Joey Votto hitting 40 and hitting 204? I'm just kidding. He's going to top out like 23 home runs. I'm just kidding. I'm just
really heavy.
You're like, what? What's this, the show 2012? Before we move it over to the other division, I did want to throw this at you guys. Start bench cut, greatest players of this division. Like many start bench cuts, it's usually 3 people. This is going to be 5. We got Ernie Banks, Barry Bonds, Robin Yount, Pete Rose, and Albert Pujols. You start 1, you bench 2, you cut 2. I'm going to let Zappy go first here.
Please do.
So remember, Ernie Banks as a Cub, Barry Bonds as a Pirate, Robin Yount as a Brewer, who, by the way, they did play in the AL East back then, but that's his franchise, so we'll drop him in here with these guys. Pete Rose, Albert Pujols.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, now it's kind of tough to cut anybody. These are great players. This is the creme de la creme of some hitting here, but and that's the cool thing about only doing these are a little shorter than our NFL detailed shows. Because last year, I actually did an hour-long show covering the entire league. We're breaking them down into smaller videos here, but this is what's cool. This is what we call filler material.
You said Bonds as a Pirate, right?
Of course, yeah.
Not as a Giant, just a Pirate.
When Bonds was there, it was actually the NL East. But
Right.
All right. Short and sweet. Oh, God.
I know, it's hard.
I already know.
All right.
Like I said, that's why we got plenty of time. That's just a nice thing.
My cuts are going to be Robin Yount and Ernie Banks. My bench is going to be Pete Rose. Oh man. No, my bench is gonna be Pujols and Bonds, and my start is gonna be Pete Rose.
All right.
That is the hardest one.
Exactly. With me, my cut is gonna be.
You get 2 cuts. Yeah. 2 cuts, 2 bench, 1 start.
Yeah. My cuts are gonna be Pujols and Yount. I know.
So we both agree on Yount.
Yeah, my bench is going to be. Oh shit!
Yeah, it's tough. I like this.
It's going to be Banks and. Damn. Oh shit! I'm gonna go Banks and Bonds, and I'm gonna start Rose, man.
So you both agree on Pete Rose. You both agree on cutting Robin Yount. The difference with your cuts is that Idris also cut. Who was your additional cut to Robin Yount?
Pujols.
And Zappy, your additional cut was Ernie Banks?
Ernie Banks, yeah.
Such a difficult one. Oh, my God.
It's hard.
I literally am going to give you guys a tie.
That's the hard.
Because
that's a hard.
I really don't think that it's fair to not give you a tie on that.
You know what? I know I cut Pujols. As powerful a hitter he is, I need someone who can run the bases also.
I hear that. And that's reasonable.
That's why I because he got the power. He can knock it.
Yeah, for me, it was the reason why I went with Pujols is because I need the clutch gene, and that's what he definitely had.
Yeah, the clutch
you
gene.
know, that a lot of the series they won was because of that one big at bat he had.
Right.
So that was why I put Pujols, but it was like talking about Ernie Banks. I'm like, fuck. I think between Ernie, Barry, and and Pujols, it's hard to argue with those three because those three all.
This is an awesome one. This might be the best collaboration of talent for any segment of Start Bench Cut. Before we move it along to the American League part of things, one commonality that both these divisions have in common, if we're digging deep into the historical value of it, is that you have two of the most polarizing figures in the history of Major League Baseball. Actually, three if you include Barry Bonds. I liken Bonds to more as a giant. But the point to be made here, Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson. Going back to my days on the Jordan Patrick Show, that was literally our very first episode, as well as our buddy AJ Hinch, who's in the American League side of things here. So anyway, let me get this going and show you something that I believe here. The Pete Rose apology. Why this man needs to be in the hall, short and sweet, my 2 cents on it. And I have another Start Bench Cut that just dawned on me.
Oh, shit.
So why this man needs to be in the hall, number one, with the exception of Ichiro Suzuki, if you're including the Japanese numbers with the American numbers, this is the all-time hits leader in baseball, period. I consider baseball global, but it is the Major League. So Major League-wise, he is the hits leader. What he did was wrong. He lied, and then he took it back, and then he lied again, and I get it. He's done some shady doings. Betting on and against his team, let's keep it real, he did both when he was the manager of the Reds. But what he did before taking over as a manager of the Reds was something that few could ever do. The nickname Charlie Hustle doesn't even do it justice, and that's one of the most badass nicknames of any ball player of any era. His 70s Reds, the Big Red Machine, along with Johnny Bench and Joe Morgan, just to name a couple of greats that were on that squad, basically battered the New York Yankees and put them on a delay before they had their dance with history going back to back with the acquisition of Reggie Jackson, making Reggie Jackson the first $1 million man in the history of Major League Baseball. But I want to say that Pete Rose absolutely, positively belongs in the hall because it's time that if you don't have the best of the best in that place, it's just not good enough for the sport. And while I elaborate on this, this is another one I got, and this is going to lead us into our next division. I want to talk about this man for a minute, Shoeless Joe Jackson, why he belongs in the hall for eons. And now even more recently with the Field of Dreams game, Major League Baseball is making a killing off of the memory of that fabled Black Sox team, the 1990, that squad. Ray Liotta, Kevin Costner put it to film, one of the greatest sports movies ever. The Yankees and White Sox opened the introductory Field of Dreams game, which was an epic classic, ended with a Tim Anderson home run. Oh, man. He was not in on the take. It's an injustice that's gone on for a very long time. And while Rob Manfred is so concerned and worried about constantly changing all these rules, what he should do is try to rewrite some of the history things that he could get right. They did well with including the Negro League players. That was long overdue. This is also very much so overdue. And it is time. It is time to put these two players in the hall. Nobody goes in before Shoeless Joe. I stand staunch on that. Get it done, Rob Manfred. Come on, do the right thing.
Shoeless Joe is way overdue, man. Way overdue. After this last Hall of Fame class that we just elected.
Yes. One of the worst.
Yes.
And I have a beef with this year's inductee, who was a good player. Don't get me wrong. Scott Rowland was a good player. But when I look at his baseball card and compare it to my childhood icon, Mr. Don Mattingly, I'm sorry, bro. No, sir. I'm going to leave it there because I don't want to disrespect Roland. I actually like him very much. I just think it was very poor, piss poor, the way they did this. And at some point, Major League Baseball has to get honest with themselves and say, you know what? We made a shit ton of money, got the fans back during the steroid era. You cannot ostracize and throw away all these steroid guys. Some of them you could. But the A-Rods, the Barry Bondses, that caliber of player were great no matter what. And they have to be able to use common sense and make the differentiation between a Big Papi, a A-Rod, a Bonds, and then you got these other clowns like the Palmeiros, like the Maguires, like the Sosas that honestly don't deserve a sniff.
No, they don't.
I know we talked about this before, but the Scott Rowland induction felt like a slap in the face to every one of those players.
And I think that's what it was intended to do.
And a message saying you're never getting in. Mm-hmm. That's what it felt like.
They're keeping out guys like Schilling because of his personal beliefs.
Right.
They're keeping out Clemens, who, there's a lot of ways to break this down. But the point is, Shoeless Joe Jackson needs to be inducted, and right behind him should be Pete Rose. We're going to move it along to Shoeless Joe's White Sox, their division. Richie's prediction. I got the Guardians, a team that won this division last year, first year under the new name, formerly the Indians. I've got them going 92-70. I expect Shane Bieber to be in the mix for the Cy Young. I also expect a huge jump out of Stephen Kwan, who I think is coming off a very nice rookie year. Out in Minnesota, I don't wish it on anyone, but I do question if Carlos Correa is going to be able to stay healthy. A lot of money for a lot of missed games. In Chicago, the White Sox have lost Liam Hendricks to cancer. Our best wishes here at the show to him, that he gets back doing what he does, one of the premier closers in the game. Jose Abreu, great first baseman for many years. He is now a member of the Houston Astros. We got a Royals team whose former Yankee is going to be helping in that bullpen, helping set up for closer Scott Barlow. I'm talking about Aroldis Chapman. We also have someone who I'm going to be keeping my eye on, Vinny Pasquantino, who I think could have a hell of a bust-out year and be in that 30 home run range. And as far as the Detroit Tigers go, I have nothing against the Detroit Tigers other than the man who manages that team. But going back to the JPS show and keeping it right here, it's always going to be fuck you, AJ Hinch.
All day.
Round 2 of Start Bench Cut coming, and then we're going to have a round 3 as well.
Whew.
Guys.
I'm
going to do some typing, dissect it.
Yeah, you do that.
Let me know what it is.
Well, no, I mean, looking at this division, it's really, you can't argue with anything on here. The AL Central is the AL Central. I love Terry Francona, and I love what he's doing with the Guardians. I've loved what he did with the Indians. The Guardians, this is the team that was in the World Series versus the Cubs, and ever since then, they haven't lost it. Like, they've been good year in and year out, and you expect that from a Terry Francona managed team. Mm-hmm. Then you look at the Twins. Yeah, they were able to come back and get a Carlos Correa after he signed with all the other teams he signed with, which still blows my mind that we saw that this year. And then I like the signing of bringing in a Joey Gallo. I think he's going to fit in nicely there. Mm-hmm. So I think that, there's some positives. I think there's more positives with Minnesota than there are any other team in this division aside from the Guardians. But I think that the Twins are going to finish a little closer. I could see this team finishing easily with 87 wins this year, and the Guardians finishing with 90 wins. I think it's going to be a little bit of a closer race this year. The White Sox, I think, are going to be lingering right there at the 500 mark. I have them also finishing just below 500. And then the Royals and Tigers, Royals, they're getting there. They still need a couple more things to work well with their prospects before we can even talk about their team. They're young, but they're getting better. The Tigers, they're going to be right there in the conversation for one of the worst records in baseball, in my opinion. 64 wins, I think, is being nice. I think they're going to be more of a 56-win team, but I'm just not expecting much from the Tigers at all this year.
Fair. I think that's all logical and rather fair. I am setting up my next segment of Start Bench Cut, so just bear with me.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think the Guardians will win 90. I think they'll maybe win 95 games. Twins, I'll give them a little bit over 80, maybe 85, or 77. The Sox, yeah, I had them at first, but I forgot who they lost. So I'll stick with 79, 83. The Royals getting there, not quite there. Tigers, they may lose 100 games this year.
That's not out of the question at all.
They may lose 100 this year. So I see everything the way it is. I think the Guardians, I think they'll be tougher this year than they were last year. They were tough last year, but
they've got a great pitching staff.
That's the thing.
Tristan McKenzie, I'm expecting a nice jump out of him where I think the ERA is going to come down a little. By the way, reminder to the viewers, just want to let everyone know, in addition to the many changes, whether it's the pitch clock or how much time a batter gets in the box, I also want to remind everyone that this particular year, everyone plays everyone. Zappy and I did a show on this a couple months back when that news was dropped. So basically, every division, as opposed to playing your rival 19 times each, that has been shaved down to 12 times this year, allowing every National League team and every American League team to play each other in an honest series, which is actually going to be very exciting and a good way to market the game. And asshole, Rob Manfred, that's all you need to do to keep the fan interest. Get the hell rid of this clock. And the big bases I can live with. It avoids injuries. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with running more. But my God, man, they are really screwing the pitchers this year. That's all.
Yeah, and yeah. Basically, I was going to say that, but yeah.
No, yeah, it's true, buddy. It's true.
Hey, so that actually,
you're right. You're right. 100% right.
That's why it ties into my question about who's the one player from this division that could do the 62, or from the previous division. Because you take into consideration that with the shot clock now, pitchers having to expedite their rotation, everything like that. And where we've seen it's also affecting batters, but not as much. But I think this is going to benefit the batters more because we're going to see a lot more pitches probably hang over the plate.
Yes.
So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Jose Ramirez would be my popular pick. He's not doing that. He's steady Eddie, going to be around anywhere between 33 and 40 homers. But because of streakiness and just plain debauchery, if there was a guy that could do this, it would be Joey Gallo. He would hit 62 home runs, and those would be his only 62 hits of the year.
I was going to say, think about the
He'd be hitting like 154.
Yeah.
62 home runs.
No, his
299 strikeouts.
Right.
It would be 63 home runs with a .63 ERA.
Right, ERA, right.
63 RBIs. Like that would be my pick, and it would be hilarious because he was just with the Yankees.
Right.
No, the popular pick, obviously, yes, it is Jose Ramirez. But Joey, if he could get back to his big years.
Salvador Perez is another guy that can lead this division in home runs, and I am feeling very high about their new first baseman, Vinny Pasquantini. I think that dude could have a year. I think the Twins need Carlos Correa to play at least 120 games this year, at least. I'm not sure if they can do that. I am expecting a comeback year for Tim Anderson. He had an off year. I'm expecting him to get back to being that force and competing for a batting title as well. But listen, so since you guys tied the first round of Start Bench Cut, we're going to end this show with 2 rounds because we're going to need somebody to take the lead and then see if we ultimately end in a tie or a winner.
That's why we should have had Brett, so we know one of us would win.
Right. That is a good way to look at that. Best all-time players of this division. This is round 2 of Start Bench Cut.
All right.
Oh, man.
We've got Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt. We've got Cy Young. We've got Kirby Puckett, George Brett, and Ty Cobb. We got Ty and Cy in this division. I'm going to let Idris go first this time. What are your thoughts? You remember, you get 2 cuts, 1 start, 2 cuts, 2 benches.
Damn, man.
Yeah, I'll give you a second to mull it. So I'm going to type that in.
Yeah.
With the viewers.
Ty, Cy, Frank, George. And Kirby. Whew.
If you want me to make this even more difficult, I can take out Kirby and put in Harmon Killebrew.
I can't spell his last name, man.
Yeah, me neither. That's why I could, but honestly,
I like him though, but I can't ever spell that guy's name.
I don't know. Kirby had more of an impact, obviously, on me watching him play, but Frank Thomas, one of the best.
I'm gonna lose this one.
It's okay,
but I'm going to go ahead and take. I'm going to go ahead and get. I'm going to cut. The cuts will be. Dang.
Yeah, it's not easy. That's what I love about these.
I'm going to start with. I'm going to put my starter first.
Okay. And there's no time limit because, like I said,
my starter is going to be George Brett. I know
that's your starter.
That's my starter.
Okay, you are going to lose.
Yeah, I know.
That's okay though.
It's a reason why I said him first. Now I can go to the other ones. I go. My bench is Cy.
Okay.
And no, I'm gonna start Cy. I'm gonna start Ty Cobb.
You're gonna start Ty Cobb.
I'm gonna start Ty Cobb.
So Brett and Cy will be your bench.
Yeah.
And you're cutting Kirby and Frank.
Yeah. That was too much for me, man. That was too much.
All right. I'm happy you changed it because I was starting Cy no matter what. So Cy is my starter. My bench is going to be Ty and Ty Cobb and oh man,
right.
And Frank Thomas, and I'm going to cut Kirby Puckett and George Brett.
You get the edge on this, Zappy, for one simple reason. You actually agreed with everything I was going to say. Yeah, that's why you get this one. Little known fact, when I played Little League, George Brett was actually the first baseball glove. You know the old school ones that had a little autograph on the inside?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
George Brett is my first baseball glove. So soft spot for him, but not that soft after the Pine Tar incident. Oh, Zappy's up 1-0 in start bench cut. We have one final round.
Yeah, I know.
The worst cheater from these divisions. Now, granted, Barry didn't cheat with the Pirates, or at least we don't believe he did. That went down with the Giants, but nonetheless, he's a big part of this division. AJ Hinch, Barry Bonds, Pete Rose. I give Zappy the star to go first here, and then Idris will wrap it up behind him. Worst cheater. Hinch, Bonds, Rose. And Hinch did not cheat in this division. He's in this division, so we got to speak on it.
That's one. I was staring at AJ. I was like, "What the hell did he do in this division?"
Well, he's in this. Well, the fact that he's in baseball,
I know, but I was like, "What? He didn't do anything in this division." That's what I was stuck on. I was trying to remember what he did in the.
Well, as ball players, they all cheated later in their careers. If you really want to break it down,
I'm gonna put the least one to me. Oh,
it's not that easy. You got a home run record. You've got the changing of history with Hinch and Rose. You got like unprecedented kind of shit there. So it's not easy.
Well, the crappy thing is when it's hard to compare the three because it happened when one was a player and the others weren't. Because when you know what I mean? That's the part that's getting me. And that for that reason, I'm putting Barry as the least. Because he was still a great home run hitter before the steroid era. When he was with the Pirates, he was still a phenomenal hitter.
Right.
So the fact is that
it's applying to the people. You're allowed to dive into it all here.
Right.
I bring them up because they are tied to this division.
Right. No, and that's why I put Barry as the least worst cheater.
So Barry is your cut.
Barry would be my I would. Oh yeah, since we're talking about the worst, Barry.
You're promoting negativity.
Yeah, I'm not promoting any negativity, but since I have to promote negativity in this case, I'm about to promote why I think that gambling on your games is better than no. I mean, so yeah, Barry's gone. Worst cheater. Who? The both of them messed with the integrity of the game. Barry Bonds did as well, but to me, the integrity. Whenever you're talking about money involved, and I mean AJ Hinch, what he did with the Astros, and you talk about what Pete Rose did with the Reds, they're both, in my opinion, I think they're both equally as bad. It's really hard to separate the two and choose one, but because I'm going to look at because of the circumstance, I'm going to put AJ Hinch as the worst cheater because it was the World Series.
And it was the ALCS, and it was other rounds
too. Because it was the bigger thing is it ended up at the biggest stage, whereas Pete Rose did not. So that's why I'm gonna take that one. I'm gonna say AJ Hinch because I stand firm that I thought that 2017 championship should have been ripped away from the city of Houston and should have been gone, and everything. So that I'm gonna say, yeah, what AJ did was horrible. What Pete Rose did too is bad, but also when we look at it today, we're seeing a lot of gambling and. I mean, yeah, Miles Austin is also suspended because of it. We saw what happened to Calvin Ridley, but we're going to see it more often. And I'm not going to say we're going to become numb to it, but it's going to be a normal thing now we're going to see. But AJ, in my opinion, that was just when
Idris, who's the worst here? Who's your least worst and who's your best?
My least is definitely Barry Bonds.
Okay.
Yeah, because for those reasons, he was a great hitter. Before all the nonsense, So.
Now, keep in mind, if you do tend to agree with Zappy all the way through, you got to come up with a cunning difference that's going to put him down here.
Right. I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to put AJ Hinch as the worst.
Woo!
He did cheat, and it was the World Series.
And the ALCS and yada, yada.
Yes. Bonds broke the law. He betted on his own games. He's a manager.
Indeed.
Just like AJ Hinch.
Indeed.
He broke the law. It was against the law.
That is a good turn. Idris, you snuck it out. Idris, you stuck it out.
It's also with Pete
you said Bonds. You said Bonds broke the law?
No, I'm talking about I meant Rose. That's what I'm talking about. Rose broke the law. Also, Rose had a chance to fix things. But over and over, he kept lying. And not until his book came out did he finally say, all right.
And it was still a little fudged even after that.
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards Idris getting the win, but have no fear. We have a worst cheater part 2.
That one is that one was a hard one. That one was.
It was.
Check this out.
Because
I didn't really think this.
Worst cheater part 2.
Rose.
Worst cheater part 2. This is going to decide it. It's 1-1. Zappy and Idris.
Oh shit.
Oh yeah.
I can already tell you who I'm cutting. I'm cutting Bonds.
Okay.
I
can live with that answer.
I'm cutting Bonds.
I'm cutting Bonds too.
All right, you know what? Go 1 for 1. So he said his cut. You say your cut. Now, Idris, who's your bench?
My bench. That's the hard part.
Indeed.
But I'm gonna bench McGuire.
Really?
I'm gonna tell you why I'm starting Sosa.
Oh, this is gonna be interesting.
It goes back to the same thing with Rose.
Okay.
Not only did now McGuire and Sosa, they lied and they cajoled and all that other stuff. Well, with Sosa, when he got on the grand stage. Is a man who spoke English. He couldn't speak English. He did all this stuff to smoke screen everything. Like, I don't know nothing. I ain't do nothing. I can't speak English. He has to talk for me. But up until that point, he spoke English like we do.
Right.
So basically, he not only did he lie, he just kept on.
This is good stuff. I like this.
He just kept smoke screening.
That's a good point, Idris.
He kept smoke screening.
I like your point.
To McGuire was wrong, but you know what? McGuire moved on.
That's a good point.
He knew he was busted. Like, okay, I'm busted. I ain't doing it, but I'm busted.
That is a good point. Zappy, your rebuttal on this for why, or if you agree, or if you're going to start, or if you're going to say something a little different than Idris. So who's your cut? I believe Zappy.
Bonds was cut.
Okay.
When it comes to Sosa McGuire, I kind of agreed with Idris on the same route, but I'm gonna go the other way just to go the other way for the sake of argument.
Heard.
I'm gonna say McGuire is my start and Sosa is my bench.
Okay.
Because I think McGuire was the bigger name. When I look at it that way, when you talk about kids and telling them to look at baseball as a whole, they're more likely going to know who Mark McGuire was growing up than they were about Sammy Sosa. Sammy Sosa had those few good years,
right,
where he really took off, and then people actually knew who he was.
Right.
Then I tie in the number 70 to Mark McGuire, whereas it's not tied into Sammy Sosa's name.
Right.
So up until Barry Bonds breaking that 70 mark, that was McGuire's, and we all know he would not have gotten there. Not going to take away from the fact that he was also a great hitter, but, you know, we could see the drastic change when it came to Mark McGuire. So looking at it as an actual player perspective and what was at stake, I believe McGuire, what he did, tarnishing a couple of those records, not saying Bonds didn't, but and then when you look at it from a children perspective, when you talk about how this game is a father-son game and fathers talk about players, a lot of fathers didn't talk about a Sammy Sosa, but they did talk about a Mark McGuire. And it's, I mean, you could blame that on race. You could blame it on whatever you want, but that's just how it was growing up in the 90s. You know, I knew a lot about Mark McGuire. So that I'm going to go take that route, but because of 70 home runs tied into it, I'm going to put McGuire as my start. But I agree with what Idris said about
I'm giving each of you a tie over 4 rounds because I think Idris's point is so damn honest. I think your point, similar to Idris, makes all the sense in the world. I'm going to give you my 2 cents on how I view all this.
We need to read bread on him, man.
I agree with both of you with Barry Bonds being the cut because he wasn't the first one at the party. I'm actually going to bench Sosa, even though Idris made a phenomenal point. And I will admit that this might be some personal bias on my part as to why I'm starting McGuire. Number one, I'm a Yankee fan, as you all know. This dude right over here, see if we can get the camera to get a better. Pardon me. Hold on. That's Roger Maris right there, folks, next to the great Mickey Mantle in the great 1961 season. When I think about that, this man went through absolute hell, not being accepted by the New York fans or by Major League Baseball on the whole, and looking at the way that McGuire got celebrated when Major League Baseball knew what was really going down at the core of it. The reason why I will always put McGuire at the top is 2 specific reasons. And it's not just linked to the home run record. That is one of them. The fact that he approached the Maris family and said that he wanted Roger's bat to bring him good luck, to me, that's all kinds of ugly shade. And the other one, I have another personal bias here, and I'm not afraid to admit it. We are going to move this laptop along one more time. Over there, that's my guy, Don Mattingly. When I look about how Mattingly missing the Hall of Fame by a couple of things, whether it be, he needed a couple of more All-Star appearances maybe, or he needed to hang around a year or 2 longer. Mark McGuire, before being a member of the St. Louis Cardinals, was a member of the Oakland Athletics. And during that time as a member of the Oakland Athletics, he stole, in my opinion, at least 3 All-Star appearances or starts away from Don Mattingly. And that ultimately is why I have McGuire as my bigger one, because I think in addition to the home run situation, I think McGuire was cheating the league and cheating us a little bit longer than Sosa or Bonds for that matter. Just my 2 cents. But because you guys presented such great points over 4 different rounds, I think it's only fair to give you guys a tie, and that's what I chose to do. Out of every team in this division, before we get out of here, divisions, I should say, is there any one team that stands out to either one of you guys that could be a surprise victory in the World Series this year?
Of the two divisions we talked about?
Yeah, any particular team on either side?
I say the Cardinals, man.
Possibly. Yeah, I can see that, even though we gave them a rather, humble record. I'm going to say the Indians just for the sake of disagreeing, because I think Terry Francona is the best manager in baseball.
I'm going to say the Guardians too, just because they've been doing it more consistently, and the Terry Francona effect. I like their pitching staff. I like what they have playing the infield. I like their lineup. I like this Guardians team a lot. I thought they were a team that could do it last year, but came up short, of course.
And I do think that those two delays benefited Idris and my Yanks. I do believe that to be true.
Yeah, but as far as, if you take away the Cardinals and the Guardians, because they're really supposed to be there. They're the both defending champs. Who would the surprise team be from those six? Who I'm going to say the Pirates.
Possibly.
Good job, guys. Hell of a job. And it's so funny because going into the show, I'm going to admit to the viewers, we were a little worried about having enough content because these two divisions don't exactly give you the same storylines as the Western divisions or the Eastern divisions.
Right.
But between our start bench cut breakdowns and between our Pete Rose apology and Shoeless Joe and our 4 rounds of start bench cut, I got to say, man, this was a pretty good show. And I can't wait to watch this.
Yeah, we need to bring Brett on here, though.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There you go.
We are definitely going to get Brett on here.
You want something? Here we go. We got time. All right. So we talk about, we want to do a movie show.
Oh, man.
What are the 2 best movies to come out of these divisions? 2 best baseball movies.
That's kind of easy.
I think it's easy for the AL Central. I think it's very easy for the AL Central.
I got For the Love of the Game and Major League.
Major League for sure.
The original.
Major League. Yeah,
the original.
And For the Love of the Game, which would whoa, how did I do that?
What's that?
I just screwed up. It's Field of Dreams.
Well, I did. Yeah, damn.
Round 3, round 5, start bench cut.
See that Field of Dreams, it started to come out of my mouth. I said, wait a minute. But I was thinking, never mind.
Round 5, Field of Dreams, Major League, For the Love of the Game, start bench cut. We all know who you're going to start. So can I just get Field of Dreams out of the way?
Right. Okay,
this is where it could get interesting with the 2 bench pieces. Is it Major League or is it For the Love of the Game? I'm going to laugh if after 5 rounds we're still tied. Then I think it's going.
I think we're both gonna say that
Major League probably.
Major League is our. Is
God
our bench,
damn it, man!
Yeah, we need Brett on here, man.
So that's why you have to put Rookie of the Year in that one, and then we could be like, oh, Rookie of the Year, this or that,
Yeah, but I kind of wanted to keep this tie thing going because it's becoming kind of comical at this point.
Look, let's bring Brett on here, and we can get all this taken care of.
Absolutely. We do have to get Brett out here in the near future. Hope you guys enjoyed this preview. We will be back soon for Idris and Richie. What? For Idris and Zappy, I'm Richie. Thank you so much for watching.
Start bench cut. Richie, Zappy, or me.
Richie. Yeah. Who's the first one to ruin a sentence? Until next time, we are out. Thanks for watching.